Hello, we've come to the final module in this teaching series on repurposing our videos to trigger an evangelistic conversation. In the previous video, we learned techniques on how to craft a compelling hook. We also discussed how to focus on a single key, powerful message based on a gospel passage. Today, now, we prompt them to process their thoughts and invite them to seek for more. That's what this video is going to be about. Okay, why end with a prompt? Why should we do this? No? Well, an effective prompt at the end of your video accomplishes very good purposes. Okay, first of all, it encourages reflection. Well, at least that should be your intention. Okay, we need to encourage reflection. It moves them from head to heart. Okay, and we need to open a spiritual door, and that's what the prompt should do. It will gently invite them, the viewer, to consider God personally. Then we end with a prompt in order to start a conversation. Actually, not with you, but with the person who sent this video to them, the Ligaya member who's evangelizing them. And we hopefully challenge them by saying, "What did you think of that question at the end?" If we were the one who sent it to them, huh? Okay. And then we end with a prompt because it creates a next step. It nudges our viewers towards engagement, towards prayer, curiosity, deeper thought, or a response, other than just thank you. Okay, so how do we craft a prompt? We've already shown you techniques on how to craft a hook. Now, a prompt is a little bit different, okay? Obviously, like the hook, it should flow logically from the beginning hook to the gospel passage and now to the concluding prompt. Okay. So, what you want to do is you will ask a question, a sincere, open-ended question, It's not rhetorical. It is a statement which is a statement disguised as a question. We don't want that, We don't want a question that is answerable with a simple yes or no. It should be thought-provoking and sincere, And, we want to avoid generalities, Um, Again, we want to use you language so that it, it, it's clear that we're talking to this person himself or herself, no? Okay. And we don't want the question to be the form of a preaching in disguise. Okay. Now, in thinking of how to craft a prompt, think of it as an invitation, invitational rather than a confrontation. Pose your questions that will stir longing, reflection, or honest wrestling with the truth which you just presented. Okay. Remember, this ending prompt can be the conversation starter for the evangelistic conversation that will hopefully follow after you send this video to your friend send this video to the viewer. Okay. Now, how do you start your prompt? Here are some examples of how you can you 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 phrase your prompts. Okay, you can use this over and over again. You can have a what if, okay, then you ask the question, or how would your life be different if, is there a part of you that, when was the last time you, what would it mean if, do you believe that? Where in your life do you feel, and what's stopping you from doing whatever? So as you can imagine, the way you will start this prompt with these kinds of questions should be logically flowing from what you just said. Okay. I hope you're getting the drift here. Okay. All right. Again, here's several examples based on an archetype. The hurting. What would you want to hear from Jesus if he sat beside you right now? Good question, right? Or the anxious or overwhelmed. What are you most afraid of to let go? And could you let Jesus carry it? Okay. Culturally religious, you would say, is your faith something you perform or something you live with? This week, ask yourself, am I truly walking with Christ? What is the one step I need to take to go deeper? For the busy worker, take a moment today and ask God, where do you want me to focus on you today? Then you act on it. So these are the way you would end your message. Okay? Notice that it's an invitation. It gets them to think deeper. Okay? Here are some more examples. For the skeptical, what would it take for you to believe God is actually reaching out to you? What if you read Jesus' words with fresh eyes without assumptions? Okay, again, you're speaking to a skeptic. What about the comfortable or content? What are you building your life on? And will it still matter 100 years from now? Ask God, where have I grown too comfortable in my faith? Then take a step out of that comfort zone. Or maybe you can suggest to them, maybe this is a good time to ask, where am I in my relationship with God? What if Jesus is gently saying, come back, there's more waiting for you? Again, look at these questions and imagine leaving these questions with your viewer. And then, next thing he knows it, the person who's evangelizing them goes back to him and says, so what did you think? How did you answer that question? See the dynamic here? And finally, we have some tips on how to do a prompt for the seeking. Is there a part of you that still wonders if there's something more? What if not? What if Jesus is not who you think he is? And so on. I will not be able to read this, but I'd be happy to share these slides with you later on. But you get the drift, okay? You get the drift. Different types of prompts depending on whom you're talking to, and also depending on the message that you just delivered. But it's a good way to end your videos. The idea is we want them to reflect and to take a step. Okay? You're not pushing, you're just prompting, a gentle nudge, konting tulak. Invite the viewer to pause and reflect personally. Use maybe, what if language to keep it open. Okay? Let the Holy Spirit do the convincing. You're just opening the door. Okay? And this prompt is a sort of a call to action, call to reflect, to reevaluate, to seek, to find out more, to keep the door open, to step forward, etc. No, that's what you want to do here. No, and what could the viewer ask themselves after hearing this gospel? Manage this question and bring them to this agenda. What can I ask about after I hear this message? Okay, we're almost done. You've caught their attention and curiosity with a hook. You've challenged their views and current state by briefly explaining the gospel passage, why they need to consider some changes in their view about their faith life, and why it makes sense. Then, you didn't provide all the answers, but you've gotten them to be open to want more. And so you leave them with a curious question that they need to answer privately after they turn off the video. Okay? And now, before you end, you want to suggest a next step. Just one sentence, one suggestion, and that's how we conclude your video. Okay. What's next? You want your video to end with a concrete next step that they should do or prepare for. You don't want your video or your viewer to be inspired but then not act on it. Okay? And so remember, this video was sent to them by someone who wants to evangelize them. And that evangelist sender is hoping that the video has opened the door for your viewer so that both of them can have a one-on-one conversation. Okay? So, your closing message, therefore, should prepare your viewer to either hear from the evangelist sender, kamusta, or to turn around and give feedback to that evangelist sender. Okay? At this point, your job is done. Now you hand your viewer over to the evangelist. So how do you say that? Okay. Well, something like message back your friend. Okay. And here are some optional endings. Okay. Say something like this. If this video spoke to something in your heart, why not message your friend who shared this with you? Sometimes one honest conversation can change everything. Simple lang. But that's what will get them to just say, okay. And then of course, then God bless you. Okay. This makes faith personal, creates space for private, meaningful follow-up. Or how about this? This is just the beginning. If you're curious to go deeper, why don't you message your friend and so on? Okay. It acknowledges that there's more good news and the friend is ready to help them learn some more. Or maybe you're not sure what to believe yet. Ganda, no? That's okay. If you want a safe space to ask questions or just share what's on your heart, message your friend and so on. Okay. This kind of ending action item acknowledges that there's okay to hesitate, okay to be afraid, okay? But you're not judging them if they're not sure yet. Okay. Or you can say, you don't have to figure this out on your own, my friend. Yeah. If you're open to talking more, reach out and message your friend. You know, this one builds empathy. You're concerned about them. You offer a relationship, not just information. That's asking for help is normal. If something in this message stirred a question or even a doubt, message your friend. You know, sometimes the best way to move forward is just to talk about it. Again, it's an actionable item. Message your friend. It lowers the barriers for dialogue by welcoming questions, not just arguments. It's honest, curious, not conformance. Basically, what you want them to do is to message your friend, message a friend, and give them feedback, and then the friend, bahala na siya, sasaluhin na niya yan, no? And they'll just say, come on, let's talk. Why don't we have lunch? Do you understand? That's it. That's it. Okay. We talked about, just to summarize, we talked about why we need to repurpose our videos for the message and the mission of evangelization. Okay. Therefore, as you can see, it's not going to be the same as before. Okay. Second, we saw that there are different possible archetypes that we will want to evangelize or need to evangelize. But we need to decide who among these archetypes we are trying to speak to and direct our video to for a specific video. Okay. Third, we need to start with a compelling hook that will get the viewer to go through your entire video. Then we inspire them with a single point picked up from the gospel message that addresses the particular archetype wherever they are at. Okay. Then we leave them with an intriguing prompt that will get them to go deeper into your message and can be the conversation starter, which you will encourage them to do by inviting them finally to take the next step and be ready to have a conversation by messaging back their friend. Okay, so that's it. Now, let me just summarize. Okay. I hope that these materials will help you prepare powerful evangelistic videos that can help our friends and community bring good news to all. If you know full well that there are many out there that need a renewed faith and that Jesus offers fullness of life to all, then this makes sense. This is why Ligaya is pushing for an evangelistic revival. You know. Now, your videos will greatly enable all our members to begin conversations that will change lives together forever. As I mentioned at the beginning of this series, it's often awkward to start an evangelistic conversation, isn't it? But with these videos that you will create, it will help our members, our brothers and sisters, break the ice and embolden them to have these essential conversations. Now, I thank you for your willingness to give this a try. Okay? I sincerely believe that we have been called for such a time as this, really, as we repurpose our Pathways of Hope videos for this mission. And so I pray that the Holy Spirit will guide each one of us and empower us with empathy, with zeal, and with dedication for this revival mission. God bless us all. And by the way, message me if you want a copy of these slides. Sige. So good.